I'm right on top of that, Rose. This is Rebooty and the Beast, a podcast in 2 parts, and I'm Matt Molinaro.
And I'm Ann Burke, and in the first episode we review an original piece of media, and in episode 2 we discuss the reboot.
And here we are, first part. I'm so excited about this one.
Yes, it's the original, and I knew you were going to pick that quote because it's such a good one.
Oh my gosh, I have been saying that much to the chagrin of every Starbucks employee I ever worked with. I worked at Starbucks for over a decade, and I have been saying I'm right on top of that, Rose, behind every counter since
oh my God.
the beginning of my tenure.
So this is one of my partner Miles's favorite movies, and he says I'm right on top of that rose all the time.
Oh, I know Miles loves that one too.
He loves it. And it was funny because I told him I was watching it. We were watching it for the podcast, and he was like, if you say anything bad about that movie, I swear to God.
Wow, a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Thankfully,
Davey had not seen it, so he saw it for the first time with me, which I was very, very, very excited to show him.
Did he enjoy it?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
we're still together,
good.
So.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Oh, okay. So this is the original Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, which came out in what year?
1991.
You know, I was really surprised by that. But I have an opening comment when we get to the actual description of the movie. But you know what? It must have been filmed in the late 80s and came out in 91.
I mean, think about it. It's the fashion in this movie is so the blend of what was happening in the 80s and what was just starting to happen in the 90s. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah,
it was
very on the cusp. Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't wait to talk about the fashion.
Starring one of my favorite actresses, Christina Applegate.
Same.
I love her so much.
Oh my gosh, me too. What a icon. What a paragon. I just cannot get enough of her.
Me either.
That was almost a quote of mine as well. Sue Ellen, you're just a paragon. But she is like the perfect example of someone who went from being a very young actress in very niche roles, like a very specific type of like media that was coming out at that time.
Yeah.
And she just totally reinvented what people thought of her. Which is really hard to do, especially when she was doing it. You know what I mean?
Yes. Agreed.
Dead Like Me? Or
Amazing.
Can't even. Wait, I always get it mixed up. Is it Dead Like Me or Dead to Me? Because I love both.
It's Dead to Me.
Dead to Me, thank you.
Yeah.
Icon. Anyway, I could not wait.
I didn't really recognize anyone else in the movie. Was there anyone else kind of note?
Okay, there were some people that looked really familiar to me.
I take it back.
Names here, and since I have
I take it back.
There
is somebody
running on sentence. What are you saying?
I take it back. There is somebody who I recognized immediately, which is David Duchovny.
Oh my God! Yes, I forgot about that. When I forgot he was in this.
Yes, same.
And I think David Duchovny, in addition to just enjoying him, I think he's so hot.
He's very attractive. Yes.
So I was not.
That
mad.
might be the only one I recognized.
Okay, the guy who played the love interest looked so familiar to me, and I have to figure out what I know him from. Brian?
He was on something, but because I looked him up on Wikipedia, but it was nothing I had seen.
Gosh. Okay. Oh, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, it says he was in.
Oh, well, that makes sense. I hate that show.
So maybe that's what I've seen him in? Because he's also in The Good Wife. You watched that, didn't you?
I did, but it's been a long time, so I don't really remember it very well.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the other things he's been in, and I'm sure I've seen him in... Like Dead Poet Society, I've seen that. Oh, maybe that's actually what it is.
What's his name?
The actor's name is Josh Charles.
Josh Charles. Okay.
And he looks so familiar for other things. Anyway, he was the only other person that caught my eye as someone I recognized from outside of this. I wonder if the woman who played Rose was in anything else, because she's got such a striking, like...
face.
Yes. And characterizations.
She definitely was... She was in a bunch of stuff, but again, not a lot that I recognized.
Oh, okay. Joanna Cassidy here.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, no one else of note stuck out to me as far as like recognition or anything like that.
Do you have the plot summary or the little description?
I sure do. Let's see here. So, don't tell mom the babysitter's dead. 5 siblings are left alone all summer when their mom leaves town and the evil babysitter bites the dust. Bites the dust. Okay, 1991. Here we are.
Yeah, very much. Oh, I love that. Okay, well, I just have to say, I need to start us off because my opening line is that the movie opens on an episode of Blossom, or alternatively, the Amy Grant music video, Hats.
Oh my gosh. I literally cannot agree more. First of all, you get the whole animated opening, which I miss those from movies in general. Yeah. But yes, I wrote down that the beginning opening scene was like a 80s music video.
It was amazing.
And Blossom, you couldn't have said it better. I mean, this looks like the, I won't say the reject rack, but it looks like the complete concept rack for Blossom and Six. I love the clothing in this. It is like...
Me too.
The scrunchies that you wear on your head have been oversized into pieces of fashion. The buttons are big. The buckles are buckling. The earrings are plastic.
The brooches are enormous.
The brooches. There are specific brooches that I have pointed out.
You know what's so funny is this was like my childhood. So I was born in 82. So this was kind of like around when I was 10 years old. And the way that Rose dresses in the movie, it reminds, and she's a redhead, it reminds me so much of how my mom dressed when I was around that age.
That is so funny. To me, the way
like power suits.
What's that?
Like power suits, big shoulder pads, brooches. Yeah.
When I was a young person and I thought professional woman, like this is the image I had in my mind, 100%.
100%.
And then I also have to say, like, the way Sue Ellen and her friends dress, not at the beginning of the movie as children, was like all of my older cousins that I wanted to hang out with and thought were the coolest. With the big hair, like that hair, everyone in my family had all of that hair.
I definitely, like, I remember my mom's one of 5, and I remember her younger sisters for sure having that hair. Like, my aunt got married in, I think, like 90 or 91, and she has like the exact hair of some of the girls in this movie, like just humongous, like really tiny tight curls hair.
Teased more than I have been in my entire school career.
Yes. Oh, well, this group of friends is talking about how their summer plans, and most of Christina, I'm going to just refer to her as Christina Applegate through most of the movie, but her name is also Sue Ellen. She is basically, all of her friends are going to Europe for a while, and her mom is going to Australia. And so she's going to be like a free woman because her mom's leaving, and she's going to have just like run of the house and not have any responsibilities.
Must be nice.
It must be nice. Must be nice.
I also thought this is a weird thing about the movie that I don't think ever really gets explained, and I really would love to know your take on this.
Yeah.
Because right in the scene, before we get to the next scene, we are getting a view of Christina Applegate, her character, as a kind of like spoiled rich kid. All her friends are going to Europe for the summer, and she like would have if her mom wasn't taking this fancy vacation to Australia with her boyfriend, you know?
Yeah.
And then, so you get this very specific view of what you're going to get, like maybe a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air house.
Yes.
And then we cut to the next scene, her actual life.
And it's like kind of like a hoarder's house. Like there's newspapers on every staircase. There's like garbage literally everywhere. And of course, we're meant to believe like she's just an overworked single mom who can't keep up with is it 5 or 6 children?
5 kids total, including the 2 teenagers.
So many kids. And also, for the movie, they could have edited the 2 young boys into one character.
Oh, totally. I mean, I get that they were trying to, like, do something with one of them, but they didn't even need to make that. I agree.
No, they didn't.
And the mom is catatonic in the whole first part of the movie. Like, she seems like life is just going on around her. This house is in such disrepair.
Yes.
Outside, it looks like the houses you see when you watch true crime documentaries, and they find this like basin.
I was gonna say like
trapped.
It looks like one of those houses, like a haunted, sort of paranormal,
Yes.
like a family of 6 used to be here, and then they all died of tuberculosis kind of house.
Yes. What is happening in this? What has happened? Why? And there are open. Hold on. There's an airplane flying into my house. It sounds like. Christ.
Are you about to talk about the open food containers that are just strewn about everywhere?
Yes. The entire kitchen, the entirety of their kitchen and dining room, and the living room, it seems like, every surface that doesn't have garbage on it has an open food container of some type with day-old or, however old food just sticking out of it. Like 2 donuts in a box, a piece of pizza sticking out of a container, Tupperwares with brown shit everywhere. Like, what is happening?
It's really strange. You would expect there to be rats or cockroaches or insects everywhere based on the state of the inside of the house.
If they just change the lighting a little bit, this could be a totally different movie.
I wonder if anybody's done a supercut of this movie as a horror movie.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
So we get to the house and we discover that the full family of Sue Ellen is her, like we said, she has 4 other siblings. One is, we see for just a second, he's like the punk younger brother of Christina Applegate. She's the oldest. So I guess he's like, what, 15 or something, 16?
Something like that. Yeah, because she's 17. Maybe he's like 16.
Yeah.
Because I think he can drive.
Unless he's supposed to be older and just like staying in the house afterwards, because that could be the thing too.
It could be.
They're around the same
no,
age. He's got like long hair. He's styled like how would you describe his style?
Stoner burnout.
Stoner burnout. Ass hanging out of the back of his jeans.
Oh my god, those jeans. What was going on there?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and he has like a bunch of friends that he runs out to immediately and hops in their car. That's like a theme in this movie, piling 12 people into a car.
Yeah.
And
well,
the other kids are all just
seatbelt
like,
laws.
Huh?
This was before seatbelt laws.
This is like the scene in the Friday Rebecca Black music video. If it
Oh
were a
my
little
God.
cooler.
Yeah.
The other kids are like, some dopey, like love-struck tween boy, a quote-unquote, like, tomboy girl,
Who's
like every
setting
90s
cockroaches
movie
on
had.
fire?
Huh?
Who's setting cockroaches on fire with a magnifying glass?
Yes. And she's a tomboy because they put her in a backwards cap. And then there's this other kid who is just annoying. And yeah, the mom is just like, bye. See ya.
Yeah.
You guys will be fine. And they think they're going to be on their own, but of course they find out pretty quickly that she's hired a babysitter.
Mrs. Stunak or something like that.
Oh gosh, I have it written down, but I couldn't understand it every time I said it. Mrs.
Yeah, Sturak? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious now.
Well, my favorite part is, while you're looking that up, is when Christina Applegate, or when the mom says she has a lot of experience, and Christina says, of course she does. She's 200 years old.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, yeah. Yeah, Mrs. Sturak. I also love that,
Sturak.
we meet the babysitter who does look like a fossil. And suddenly the mom is gone from like a catatonic, overworked mom to looking like Judith Light in like, who's the boss? Businesswoman chic. Hair done perfectly.
I could not believe the outfit she was wearing to travel to Australia, one of the longest flights you can take in the world. And she is wearing like a neon pink skirt suit with a briefcase, and her hair wouldn't have even fit on the airplane. It was teased up so big.
That's right. It was 100% on my
why?
way to my businesswoman job.
Yes.
But yeah, she's off,
minute-
and then we have that panning shot where they, like, I love that 90s, like, pan back the background and
Yes.
into the people shot. I don't know what you call that.
Yeah, something like that. But this is when we find out that Mrs. Sturak is not the sweet old lady that she pretended to be. She is a strict disciplinarian who calls them maggots and tells them to line up, and TV rots your brains.
TV rots your brains.
Yeah, the way that she said some of her lines was truly unhinged.
Iconic.
I loved it. During the scene where they're all kind of getting read the riot act and sort of learning what she's going to expect of them, I love the moment where she puts the tomboy in like a fluffy pink dress, and you see her as Mrs. Sturak walks away, and she gives her like double middle fingers to her back.
Yeah.
She's like an 8-year-old flipping the bird at this old lady. I loved it.
Oh my gosh.
So this is, at this point, I think, is when they all go to appeal to Christina Applegate to tell her, like, you've got to, like, make her more reasonable. Like, we can't live with this woman treating us like this. And so she goes downstairs to tell Mrs. Sturak, like, you can't be this harsh on us. We're not going to put up with it, etc. And that's when we discover that Mrs. Sturak has, what was the phrase? Bit the dust.
Bites the dust. She's bitten the dust, folks.
Oh, and of course, this is like the part of the movie that I was just like, oh, you would all go to jail at the end of this movie if this were real, because they decide they're going to cover up her death instead of like calling the police. They
Davey
like
was
stuff her.
Why didn't they just call their mom and have her come back? Like, this all could have just been handled right away. Like, what was the...
That would have ruined their summer.
At the beginning of the movie, Davey was like, what do they think is going to be better about their summer now that they have no supervision? And I was like, what are you talking about? It's going to be great.
Yeah.
And I also have to say, I don't know if they're insinuating that she has died. I think they're kind of insinuating that part of the reason she died was because she was in such shock over what she saw in the brother's room.
Oh, that I didn't connect that, but I forgot. She does. Yeah. The older brother's room is like full of like, Megadeth posters and like half naked women and drug paraphernalia and all that kind of stuff. And she's like in super shock. And that is the last time we see her before she dies. So she could have died of a heart attack.
I wonder if that's what it is, but I just thought that was funny that they included that.
Yeah.
And then if you didn't know what year it was and if you weren't already transported back, did you notice what they covered her in?
I noticed that it was a sheet, but I didn't notice what was on it.
The print on the sheet was the California raisins.
Oh my God, amazing.
Does that transport you?
I thought you were going to say Alf or something.
I mean, the California raisins.
Incredible. So they decide they're going to dump her body at the local mortuary with inside of a box that says nice old lady died of natural causes, because she told them that she has no family anymore, which apparently also translates to nobody would be able to identify her. She had no identification and no friends at all in the world.
Right. No fingerprints, no dental records.
Nothing. But they take her car to go shop. This is another one of my favorite lines. They're like, Christina Applegate's going to be like, I'm going grocery shopping. And she decides to take the old lady's car, which I don't know what their plan is to deal with this car eventually. But she's like, one of the other kids is like, you're taking her car? And she goes, I think she'd want it that way.
That was I think she'd want it that way.
Oh, so good.
It's a classic.
It's a classic. I think she'd want it that way.
Oh my gosh, that was great.
But there's no money in the envelope that the mom left behind, because they realize Mrs. Sturak must have had the cash on her when they dumped her at the mortuary. So now they are basically,
penniless.
This is kind of the big plot of the movie, is they have to survive the summer, or at least a few weeks of summer, with their mom gone with no money.
2 months. It's supposed to be 2 full months.
Oof, my gosh.
And the house is, like we said, a hoarder house in complete disrepair. What I will say is a continuing theme is like, how are we going to have food? And I have to say, I get it. That food has been out probably for a long time, but there's food all over the fucking house. All over. They're like, there's no food. I'm like, there are 2 donuts right to your left and an orange half eaten.
Oh my God, Matt.
Anyway.
Those donuts could be months old.
Well, they're better than starving.
Yeah, true.
Maybe.
Okay, so Christina and her brother flip a pizza box. Mama Celeste. Did you grow up eating Celeste microwave pizzas?
Absolutely. More Elio's, but a lot of Mama Celeste.
That little circle of foil is just like ingrained in my head.
Oh, yes.
My childhood.
Yes.
So they flip a pizza box of one of them has to get a job and one of them has to stay at home and watch the younger kids. And it turns out that she has to go get a job and Kenny is going to, quote unquote, take care of the younger kids, which was such a mistake from
Let's be
minute one,
real.
But
there was no way he was getting a job, no matter if Mama Celeste said so or not.
yeah, true. So the first thing she does is get a job at a burger joint where she meets Brian, her kind of like future love interest.
Yes, he's a cutie.
And it looks like a pretty thankless job. The manager is like on some sort of upper and is always telling her to smile.
Mm-hmm. They're like, he must have just read Dianetics.
Yeah, they did say that. That was good. So she hates this job, of course. It looks terrible. And so she quits kind of like the first night, it seems like.
Yes, it seems like she gets the job instantaneously and then quits literally the first night. She was doing a very bad job at cleaning. Washing something with dirty soap, like repeatedly and just spraying it over her face was her version of it. So she doesn't want to work there anymore.
It was clear that she had never washed something in her life before, and the idea of like when you've got a bowl full of liquid, if you swing your arm around in it, the liquid's gonna go somewhere.
There was also a sign on the wall that said "Respect the meat," so I can understand why she quit.
Yeah, fair.
But I love that when she it just took me so far back again. When she gets home, she's like, okay, I have to write a resume. And of course, this is 1991, so she has a resume book and a typewriter.
Yes.
Love it.
I love that. So we get the scene of her like circling the want ads, including one as a receptionist at a fashion agency. So she fakes a resume and borrows her mom's clothes. And when she goes to drop off her resume, she looks exactly like those salon drawings. You know the ones I'm talking about?
I am obsessed with those salon drawings that are like the very like stark white, sort of off-white face with the thin lines and the wisps of hair.
Yes.
Oh,
I know that that's like a famous artist or style that I can't remember the name of, but she looks exactly like one of those drawings.
100%. I love it.
Of course, the current receptionist ends up being one of the main antagonists in the movie, because she like tells her to go down to personnel really snottily. But as the receptionist leaves for a minute, out comes Rose, who's kind of like the executive director of the fashion agency, and she sees Sue Ellen / Christina Applegate's resume, which is all lies. It says like she has like an MFA in fashion and she's worked for like Comme des Garçons and like all these like major fashion labels and she's
interned in London.
Yeah. Meanwhile, she's a 16-year-old. How old do you think Christina Applegate was during this movie? What year was she born? I'm gonna look it up.
If this came out in 91, she was born in 1971, so 20.
Okay, so she wasn't like young.
I mean, she did
look young,
but she definitely looks like they're trying to make it seem like she was. I forget how old she said she was. 27.
In the movie, she kept lying and saying she was 27. Yeah,
27. I think she could definitely pass for like 22.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah,
but anyway,
so she gets hired on the spot for the executive assistant job, and we find out that the existing receptionist was the one who was supposed to get that job, but Rose, her new boss, hates the receptionist, and so she gives the job to Christina instead. So, of course, that sets up a rivalry with the receptionist who hates her guts.
Instantaneously, which I loved.
And this is when we get the infamous quote, because Rose tells her, like, anytime I'm on like a speaker call, like a speaker phone call,
no matter
or
what
like we're in a meeting and I tell you about something, like I ask you like what's the status of that, your line is, I'm right on top of that, Rose.
I'm right on top of that, Rose. No matter what I say, it's very important.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
So, of course, her siblings, like her, especially her older sibling, is like, you're gonna, like, there's no way you're gonna keep this job. And she's like, I'm a fast learner. I'll catch on. And by the way, being an executive assistant, it sounds like you're just kind of like sending faxes and things like that. But it is definitely a high level job at most organizations. So,
as I have found,
a 16-year-old
jobs.
Yeah.
She's making $37,000 a year, though.
Yes.
Which I thought, 1991.
I wonder what that... Let me look up in today's money and see. I'm curious.
We also, while you're looking that up, are introduced to Gus, who is Rose's creepy... he's a VP of marketing at the company. He's Rose's sort of boyfriend, but he's like a creepy, sleazy really sleazeball older guy. And he's clearly got an eye for Sue Ellen because he's like lapping like a dog when she walks by.
Whoa. So in today's money, that would be equivalent to something like $85,000.
Okay, see, that makes sense. Because she was like, wow.
Yeah. That is not a bad salary for a 16-year-old.
No, not at all. Not at all. We also, so after she gets the job and she gets home, she tells her, brothers and sisters about the job. They're like, all right, whatever. They're very unappreciative of her. They really don't give a shit. They're like animals, literally. Especially her brother Kenny, who every time she asks him to do anything, he blows her off to get like high with his friends. And when they do go to the grocery store, oh no, wait, where were they? Where did they go where they got robbed?
Oh, they were at a pizza joint.
Oh, pizza. Okay, so they go to get pizza, and when they get out, the car that they stole from the dead woman, has been stolen from them.
By 3 drag queens.
Liza Minnelli, Marilyn Monroe, and Dolly Parton.
I died when they were like, call the police. And she was like, and tell them what? Liza Minnelli stole the car from our dead babysitter?
Yes! Oh my god, I loved that. Because it was just like, are those drag queens? And then they just were, and they stole the car. And spoiler alert, we never hear or see from them again.
No.
And when it ended, Davey was like, what happened to those drag queens?
Oh my god.
Anyway,
okay.
So now
she goes on a date. Yeah, she goes on a date with the burger joint dude.
Well, she has to call him.
Yeah, she has to call
get
him
the
for
car,
a ride.
and he picks them up in the clown dog car. And this is when they start to he gives them a bunch of food, like leftover food, and then that's when they get the little date set up.
Yeah.
But oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say,
I didn't write anything about the date really.
Oh, they go on a little date at the beach, and it's cute. But back at the office, Christina Applegate finds out that this company is not so much like a high fashion company as like fast fashion / uniforms kind of company. So it's a little bit like disillusioning to her, but she's like, whatever. But she finds out that the receptionist, the one who hates her, not only does she hate her, but she is the older sister of her new boyfriend. So she has to kind of like constantly keep her secret about her job from her new boyfriend because his sister works there and is her main enemy.
And they're very close. The brother and sister
and
talk
they're very close
every day, seems like.
All the time, yeah.
And to that point,
yes, she's
not using a fake name with either of them.
No.
And they talk. We find out throughout the movie that she is complaining to her brother about this, quote unquote, bitch at work who's stealing her job. And he is talking to her about this girl that he likes who's kind of like dragging him along a little bit, which in his mind,
and being secretive.
Yeah. And they're both talking about these people to each other so much that it's notable, but they're not using the name.
I find that so strange because I thought the same thing, because there's a scene later on where she almost walks out into the lobby where they are both there. And she says, is something wrong, Sue Ellen?
Yes.
And he doesn't even turn around thinking, hey, that's my girlfriend's name.
Yes.
Like it's you really have to stretch the limits of disbelief of them never figuring out that it's the same person they're talking about.
And the name isn't Mary. It's Sue Ellen.
Sue Ellen.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
The only item I want to point out here is that during Christina Applegate finding out that it's a fast fashion brand, Rose is wearing these brooches.
The brooches.
They are about the size of a, let's see.
A monitor lizard or a Komodo dragon?
Oh, I mean, they are of lizards. There are two. They are of lizards. They're climbing all over her. They're the size of like dinner plates almost. They're huge.
They're huge.
Huge. One is on like sort of the normal place where you see a brooch, like on your chest, on your breast area.
Yeah. On your lapel, yeah.
The other one is climbing over her shoulder.
Yes.
Above.
I'm obsessed. I want to go as Rose for Halloween. I want to find giant lizard brooches and go as Rose for Halloween.
Oh my god, this is like those memes that were like, I hate gay Halloween. What do you mean? You're Rose from the scene of Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's there with the brooches.
Oh my god. If I had an excuse to go to something for Halloween, I'm definitely going to try to go as Rose because that look killed me.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Okay. So she basically is kind of like pawning work off on a subordinate at work who's very competent but has the most annoying voice on earth.
Yeah, she has one of those baby voices that is like this.
Her tiny little baby voice.
Oh, I'd love to do the work for you if you give me the chance. Thank you so much.
Yeah. She also makes enemies with David Duchovny, who is the boyfriend of the receptionist. So just like there's snares abounding for her at work. And it was funny at this point, it had been so long since I saw this movie. I was like, how is this going to end? Like I couldn't figure out how they were going to make a happy ending out of this. But of course it does get there.
I remembered the ending from before we even said that. Like when we said we were watching the movie, the ending is one of the things that stands out to me the most.
Okay.
I cannot wait. But
okay.
I love all of this. I love that she finds out that her job is actually doing something and then pawns off all her work to somebody else.
Yes.
Give me that job.
Which, by the way, later, the receptionist a few different times tries to sabotage Christina Applegate.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those times is saying like, oh, she's been giving her work to Kathy to do for these QED reports.
How do you like that?
And, how do you like that? And Rose is like, Sue Ellen, is this where she calls her a paragon?
Yes. Your delegation
she's basically like, your
impeccable.
delegation is perfect. You're a paragon, Sue Ellen. I love how even when she's like doing poorly at her job, Rose just adores her. It's so funny to me.
The best. Oh my gosh.
Okay, let's talk about Gus for a minute. Gus, the boyfriend of Rose, who also is like the head of marketing, who is possibly the grossest man that's ever walked the face of the earth.
Oh my god. Like I said, from the moment we see him, he's like lapping like a dog when he sees Christina Applegate's character.
Ugh.
And he's like, they told him be like a sleazeball, and he really just is a cartoon character. Like, his tongue wags, his head is like swiveling around backwards every time he sees her. He's so gross.
Yeah. He's so gross. Let me just tell you the grossest line in the entire movie is when he talks about how he asks Christina Applegate her age or whatever. He takes her out to lunch and he's immediately like making jokes about them having sex together. But the grossest thing he says is, as a woman gets older, she ripens. The juices start flowing.
I wrote that down too. Disgusting.
I'm glad you didn't open with that quote because
oh my god, I was so grossed out. And she looked at him and she was like, are you propositioning me for sex? And he's like, oh, no, not unless you want to. No. And then she has to just sit there. And this is like a preposterous movie, but I bet these scenes are not that preposterous.
No. Yeah, for sure. The sexual harassment from Gus feels very real. I mean, it's cartoonish and disgusting and stupid, but it's also like fully realistic at the same time.
Yeah, so uncomfortable. The most uncomfortable scenes in the movie. I was glad she didn't just like not acknowledge it, but I was like, oh god, imagine having to work here.
Ugh.
Ooh, yuck.
So the fashion company is like their current big project is making uniforms for school children. And Christina Applegate is like, I don't know, like, I don't think we're going to want to, like, kids want individualism and they want like to be unique and do their own thing. Like, I don't think kids will want to wear uniforms. And they kind of like are like, well, that's what we're doing anyway. So she's like, okay, fine, whatever, which ends up being a major plot point pretty shortly here.
Mm-hmm. And then this is when we hear that Rose is like not too worried about it. They're just going to do what they normally do. She's got a wild, dirty weekend planned in Santa Barbara.
Oh my God. I know. I died every time they mentioned Santa Barbara as like this little slice of heaven and my dirty weekend in Santa Barbara with Gus.
I was like, yeah, getting wild, getting crazy.
In Santa Barbara, where everything closes at 8 p.m.
Woo! Don't ask for a drive-through. Yeah, and I love that, like, while she's doing all this stuff and, like, being a businesswoman with that very classic early 90s music in the background, those high chimes.
Yes.
She asks her brother to do, like, one thing, because he's not doing anything. The house is getting worse and worse and worse, which is to do the dishes. And him and his friends, another line I love from the movie, though, go, instead of doing the dishes, he doubles the amount of, like, effort, triples it, by taking all the dirty dishes, bringing them on the roof, tossing them in the air with his friends, and shooting them. He goes,
yes,
dishes are done, man.
with a shotgun. I'm like, I'm pretty sure your mom's going to be pissed about that. And also, I don't think you're supposed to like discharge firearms in the middle of a city.
What is going on at this house? The neighbors' houses all look perfectly polished. What is happening at this house? What do the neighbors think? What is happening here?
I don't know. It's truly wild.
Anyway.
Okay. Meanwhile, this whole time, Sue Ellen is like borrowing from petty cash to try to feed her family. And she's like, I'm going to pay it back when I get my first paycheck, et cetera, et cetera. But of course, her siblings kind of ruin fucking everything. And they also start stealing because for some reason she brings the petty cash container home with her.
And leaves
I
it
don't
unlocked.
understand that. And it was unlocked and they just take a bunch of cash out of it. And one of the kids orders a home entertainment system, which ends up being like a TV that's like 12 inches wide, but everything else, like there's an entire wall full of electronics around it, which killed me.
I was like,
killed
wow, this is the home entertainment center that literally covers the whole wall, is a couple of speakers, that tiny TV. I couldn't even tell you what half of those electronics could have been.
No.
There were a few VCRs, and there was like a stack of like VCR, like VHS tapes, like blank ones, displayed like they were like Encyclopedia
part
Britannica.
of something. Yeah.
So dramatic.
So he orders a home. So, okay, this is another moment where you have to kind of like stretch your limits of your belief because at breakfast, one of the kids steals apparently $3,000 worth of cash out of her petty cash, which petty cash never had that much money in it.
No.
To my recollection. And then somehow orders and gets delivered same day this home entertainment system. I was like, how did this all happen in one single day?
Yes. And the other boy buys a diamond on that same day. Who doesn't have a car or a vehicle. He's 11?
Right.
11?
And a woman or a person at a jewelry store selling a diamond ring to an 11-year-old would be like, yeah, this is fine.
With cash.
It doesn't matter that he's got $1,000 in cash or whatever.
Hello.
Okay. Anyway, the little kid falls off the roof, breaks his leg because he's trying to fix the antenna. She gets called to the hospital, and this is where Sue Ellen's life kind of starts to everyone starts to kind of be like, what? Because she's like, oh, my son is at the hospital, and they're like, son? And she's like, yeah, I'm divorced. It's ugly. I don't want to talk about it. And everybody's like, okay.
I love that.
Somehow this woman has like a 13-year-old son and also is divorced and also is like 23. Anyway.
This is the youngest son. He's probably like 9.
8? Yeah, something like that.
And she's supposed to be 27, lol. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's kind of outrageous that she goes to a hospital now to go get him. And the people at the hospital have this kid in the hospital. I keep saying hospital. Checked in on crutches and all that from breaking his leg or whatever. And they don't have a clue who is with him. They're like, oh, are you the dad? Who's the mom? And they just take everyone's word for everything. No one has to check him out. No one has to sign anything, really. No one has to like show any identification. Nothing. It's just like, okay, yep, we're gonna just release this child to you. You look about 20 soaking wet. This kid next to you is high and smells like weed and is 16.
Yes.
Yeah, that tracks.
And also, let's talk about the fact that they leave the hospital without a bill.
No. Without even flashing insurance. That mom. Oh my God, she's
later on. They do say the mom. They're like, "Thank God you have mom has good insurance" or something like that.
Nice try. Nice try.
Okay, so things kind of hit the fan at work because the students protest the uniforms and like everybody's going to lose their jobs, and Christina Applegate is like realizing like everything's going to shit because she won't get paid enough to pay petty cash back, and how is she going to fix this? This is when we get the scene.
This scene where where Rose discovers that they did not take her they didn't like the plan didn't go well and they don't like their looks. She is panicking and knocks over a jar of M&Ms onto the ground.
Like an industrial-sized jar of M&M.
Yes, and then she immediately flings herself to the ground, like desperately trying to get them back into the jar. It is the best scene I've ever seen in my life.
It was so good.
And then she starts shoving them in her mouth and talking to Sue Ellen while she's got a mouthful of like chewed M&Ms. Like, what are we gonna do, Sue Ellen?
So then we get a scene where Sue Ellen kind of like has her moment of inspiration in the factory where she's like pulling clothes together and like laying them out and whatever. And
amazing.
Then it immediately cuts to a lunch scene with her and Rose, where Rose is opening. The only line that is said in this scene is just her going, "Sue Ellen, this is gonna save our asses."
Yes, I love the montage afterwards of her like having meetings with these high executives about this new lookbook she's putting together.
Yes.
I love the fashion drawings though. I love fashion drawings in general.
Me too. It was great.
Right.
So they're going to throw this event and like propose this to the New York office, and they were going to like rent out a ballroom or whatever. And Rose is like, just pay for it out of petty cash. And Sue Ellen realizes there is no petty cash. So she's like, you know what? Let's throw it at my house. And my house is beautiful. It's going to be perfect for it. And Rose, without seeing her house, is like, sure, great. Take care of everything. So this is the first time in the movie where her younger siblings actually are like useful, because she's like, we've got to make this house look perfect. So they like basically remodel the house in the span of like, I don't know, like 3 days.
Thank you. It's not just, I'm glad you used the word remodel, because it's not just cleaning the house, because this, like we said, is like dilapidated.
Yeah.
They're painting fresh coats of outdoor paint on this house. They're building things. They're fixing shelves. There's hammers. There's power tools.
Yeah.
This is a lot. And they went from doing nothing to doing all of this. Well, I guess, the kid broke his leg, so life changed.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Meanwhile, of course, the receptionist and David Duchovny are trying to like catch her in a
Something to get her fired.
Something to get her fired, yeah.
Because they just can't believe that she's getting away with all this shit. Because she is getting away with all this shit.
She is. And that's when they open her purse, which apparently she left behind, and they see her ID, and they discover that she's only 17, and they're like, this is it. We're going to get her fired over this.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And, of course, they're going to do this the night of the
fashion show.
The fashion show, which is at Rose's house, which now looks very nice.
Beautiful. Somehow. Gorgeous. That mom better be praising those kids, because they literally took our house from a dump.
It was like Trading Spaces level of revision. There was nobody gluing hay on the walls or anything like that, but it was a complete renovation of that house.
100%.
This
is also, so the party begins. They go to the house, and it looks great. There's plenty of people in the yard. They've got a pool. It's very nice. They've really done it up like a 90s fashion show.
Yes.
And Carolyn, whatever her name is, the receptionist, I thought they were going to save this for the end of the movie, but right away she goes over to Rose and she's like, shows her the license, and she's like, look, what do you think now? After all this, she's only 17. And Rose says, this is the most petty, spiteful, vindictive thing I've ever seen. Grow up.
Yeah.
I love it. She cannot get... The villain never gets even like an inch on her, which I love.
Nothing. Yeah. Meanwhile, Gus is still sexually harassing Rose, and he proposes, we could just have a wild, sweaty fling. How about that? Ugh. I do like that she uses a squirt gun to like squirt gun his pants to make it look like he peed himself.
Yeah, me too.
But she does confess to Rose that Gus has basically been flirting with her and sent her the flowers and all of that sort of stuff. And so Rose dumps Gus like on the scene, but she's like, we've got to get this show started. And, so the fashion show begins.
Oh my God.
I feel like I need you to tell me about this fashion show.
The fashion show begins. I don't know how to describe what you are about to see. If you have not seen this movie and you see nothing else, just try to look up the fashion show. The looks. This is supposed to be a company who makes uniforms and stuff that are going to be used like at mass marketed, The looks that come out. The first look that comes out is a bellhop. She hires all of her best friends that we see early in the movie as her models.
Yes.
There's two things I need to talk about that happen with each of these models. There's the look, and then there's the walk.
The performance.
The performance, that's agreed. A better way to describe it. Because if you put it on mute, the music is all like high energy 90s, like it might as well be like Tell It to My Heart or like, Two of Hearts or something, But the moves if you put it on mute, sometimes you might think someone's having some sort of out-of-body experience. They're about to be abducted by aliens and they don't know what's happening. There are some moves that look as though they have been doused in invisible battery acid.
Yes.
One looks like she may be being attacked by a swarm of bees.
It's
frenetic.
A wild, yes.
Frenetic dancing. Okay, so the first look is a bellhop look. It might as well be RuPaul's Drag Race Season 1.
Yes.
Unconventional challenge.
Yes.
Party City.
Yes, where they've made everything out of things they collected out of a garbage can.
It's like every look got more and more preposterous.
It did. And my note to myself as I was taking notes were, these clothes are some of the fuggliest things I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my god. The looks are in neons, in like highlighter neons. The bellhops are wearing, it looks like they're in the background of like the Britney Spears Toxic video. They're trying to do something like that. I don't know what they're doing. They're all carrying bags. They're all carrying polka dot bags too. Then we get, I think my favorite look is maybe the nurse.
Oh god.
The nurse is wearing yellow spandex tights up to her mini skirt dress, which is spandex.
Hot pink spandex.
Hot pink spandex skin tight with a weird checkerboard on the side.
Like a harlequin pattern, which Rose says is hand airbrushed, which is not really easy to do for mass production.
And her pen...
Go ahead.
Her pen is literally a quill. It's a quill, a feather quill that literally looks like it's plucked from the headdress of a Vegas dancer.
What really murdered me, though, were those bellhop uniforms, because who in the world would want to wear vertical stripes alternating between metallic pink and metallic black?
Oh my god. Oh my god. There was a green one too.
They looked like a circus tent.
I can't even breathe. I'm looking them up right now because I can't even. The dance moves of the nurse.
Ugh, amazing.
I don't know how to. It's like I'm watching. Remember the video in Saved by the Bell that they did for? I think they called themselves Cherry Sunday or Sunday Delight.
I never really watched Saved by the Bell.
What's that?
I never really watched Saved by the Bell.
Oh my gosh. Okay, there's an episode. You have to see this music video. There's an episode where the girls do a music video because they decide they're going to be a group. It's the episode where Jessie says, I'm so excited, I'm so excited, I'm so scared.
Oh, okay. The caffeine pills one.
Yeah, because she's doing so much. She's studying, and then she's also got this music career that they're doing. And the music career is her, Lisa, and Kelly in a group called like Saturday, Sunday, or Sunday Delight. And their song is called like Break a Sweat or You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet. I forget. That's the chorus. It is the music video. It's so good. It's like a 90s workout vibe. Jane Fonda. That's so good. That is the moves that you're seeing on this stage. The dance moves.
Oh boy.
The mashed potato.
Well,
the twist.
Unfortunately, it all comes crashing down because her boyfriend starts driving through the party in his clown car, speaking on the loudspeaker, talking to her as she's like trying to announce the fashion show. And so she's like trying to get through the fashion show as fast as possible because her boyfriend's about to ruin everything. But unfortunately, her mom also shows up a week early and also ruins everything.
Mm-hmm. And she's dressed like a Outback Explorer. Wild Thornberries?
She is one of the Wild Thornberries. God damn it, you beat me to it.
She's wearing costumes this whole movie.
So Sue Ellen confesses everything on the microphone about how she's lied about everything. She's only 16 years old. She doesn't know what she's doing, and she runs away. And we kind of get like the reconciliation is sort of like the mom is like, everybody better start explaining. But then she sort of like sees like, oh, the house is clean for the first time. Kenny cut his hair and he's like studying how to cook, and he like is dressed nicely, and he's like cater waitering, and all the kids are well behaved, and
Christina
Rose
Applegate
looks nice and
is flipping the script on her a little bit. She's like, Mom, you're tired. You're tired. You're cried or cranky. This isn't the time to talk about this. We'll talk about this in the morning. You go get dressed for bed.
Yeah.
And she's like, what the fuck?
But she does, for some reason.
Listen to her teenage daughter.
Yes, she does. And Christina Applegate kind of goes and talks to Rose, and she's like, I'm so sorry I ruined everything. And she's like, oh, the buyers didn't care about that. They loved the ideas. Like, we're a success. Like, everything's coming up roses for us. And she says, and in fact, I got credit for hiring a teenager to gain market perspective. So she's like not at all mad at Christina Applegate and is in fact trying to like offer her a job, it seems like. Probably, I don't know if she's offering to let her stay on as her executive assistant, but she makes some kind of offer that Rose decides to turn down because she's like, I want to go and like actually get my fashion degree and like go to school. And Kenny also is thinking about going to culinary school. So like things are kind of turning around for the two oldest kids. And like she gets back together with her boyfriend, and then the movie ends with the mom going, wait a minute, where's the babysitter? And then we get a post-credit scene. Did you see the post-credit scene?
Yes, I did.
Where they, it's the two men at the funeral home at the headstone that just says, nice old lady died of natural causes. Yeah. And he goes, she left us all that cash.
I love it.
So apparently they just robbed a dead woman and buried her under a nameless headstone.
No questions asked. Just the same thing it said on the box.
Oh, God. Incredible. So good. What were the ratings for this movie?
I am shocked. IMDb, 6.3.
Really?
Rotten Tomatoes, tomato meter, 35%. Audience meter, the popcorn meter, 57%.
35 and 57. That really is shocking to me.
I'm shocked.
35 and 57. Wow. Okay. I am going to give this, like, I would say this movie is, like, obviously very silly and, like, far-fetched and all of that, but it is good family fun to me. I'm going to give this movie an 8.
Wow. Okay. What's the highest rating I've given out so far?
The highest you've given, you gave the original Beetlejuice a 9.7, and you gave the original Beauty and the Beast 9.2.
Okay. Damn. I'm going to rate high again, honestly. If I have to scale down in the future, I will. If I realize my ratings are too off. But right now, this movie is near perfection for me. It really is. Okay. And it read the same way. So I'm going to give it 9.8.
Whoa, the highest rating so far. So definitely a beauty for both of us.
Yeah, this is your highest rating too?
No, my highest rating, I gave the original Beetlejuice an 8.5, okay. And I gave the original Mean Girls an 8.5, and then Beauty and the Beast. Okay, so my highest was the original Beauty and the Beast, which was 9.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, for me, this just was everything I needed, and I loved it. I wouldn't change much.
It was great. What would we... Okay, so knowing that next week we're going to watch the reboot, what would you change about it?
Okay, so the reboot is like from within the past few years, right?
Yes, I think so.
I have no knowledge of it at all. I've seen the cover for it, and that's it.
Yeah.
Gosh. Well, I hope it's like updated but keeps the same camp quality to it.
Yeah.
I hope it doesn't take itself too seriously like this one did.
Agreed. Because, like it has to be kind of silly to work.
Yeah, because you have to like be okay with the babysitter basically being dead, being just like okay, you know?
Yes. Yes.
I hope that they don't need to have as many kids. We can spend a little less time on
edit
that.
One of those out. Yeah.
Maybe some better explanation to why the house is so wild from the beginning.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
I hope they edit out the Gus character.
Yeah, I feel like that was unnecessary. Just have like a villain at work.
Yes.
She has 2 villains at work. She doesn't need Gus.
Well, she kind of has 3. She has the receptionist, her boyfriend, and Gus. And I feel like that could be kind of one character.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I agree with that. I hope there's just as much emphasis on the over-the-top fashion. Yes.
Ugh.
Or something similar. I mean, if it's not fashion-related, if they give the person a different job, I hope it's over the top.
Okay, I suddenly had the idea, imagining this was still filmed today, but was set in the 2009 era. So just 10 or 15 years later, and instead we get full Lizzie McGuire butterfly hair clip kind of fashion. That would be good.
That'd be great. What do you think? What are you looking forward to, or hoping would change, or be updated, or other than what we've said?
I wouldn't change a whole lot other than what we've already said. I feel like I'm hopeful, like you said, that the fashion is kind of ridiculous. I feel like somehow it's not going to be as whimsical.
Yeah.
Like there's something about like the 80s and 90s had just sort of a ridiculousness about the fashion where it didn't really take itself so seriously. And so I feel like if this is set in 2024, my guess, I'm just going to guess that the fashion show is going to be like actually okay stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be like interestingly comedic and stupid.
I almost feel like back in the 80s and 90s, the idea of like fashion for the future was like a big thing. Like, what's the future of fashion? I mean, I guess that's what fashion is always doing, evolving, whatever. But I think the future of fashion had a very specific look back then, or like a sense of whimsy and sci-fi, and like, you know what I mean? Like, there was a little bit more wiggle room to be preposterous and be like, it's the future. It's the future of fashion. It's a big triangle.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I can't wait. So tune in next week if you want to see us I would say we're both saying this is a beauty then.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that goes without saying, but... All right, everybody. Well, do you like free stuff? Because I really do. And our podcast is totally free, so you should subscribe, rate, and review us so other people could find us too.
That's right. Also, word of mouth is huge. So go and tell a friend who you think might be interested, because that's the number one reason somebody tries a new podcast is when somebody recommends it to them.
Yes, and you can find us on social media. Please add us on all of the things. We're on Instagram. I think we're on Blue Sky.
We're not on Blue Sky yet, but we're just on Instagram at the moment.
Okay, Instagram as Rebooty Pod. I do have a TikTok. It's not doing anything yet, but stay tuned. I'll advertise it on later, but just email us for now at rebootypod@gmail.com. We love getting email and we love getting requests.
That's right. We also have a Patreon, which is patreon.com/nandmatt. You get cool bonus episodes where we like review movies and play fun games, so you should check that out.
Thank you so much for listening to Rebooty and the Beast.
See you next week.
Bye.